Hey there, SyrupDishes here, average guys doing average things, and I wanted to show how I made a surfacing table for the router. I've been working on some epoxy pour cutting boards, and the planer chipped the epoxy in the first one, and so I had to think of a way to surface these boards, get that epoxy off of there. And so I'm back in my messy garage, and I just want to take a minute, show you this. I built it. If I would have went out and bought all the parts, maybe 35 bucks, maybe 40, but probably way less than that, just to build a jig to be able to surface some things and plane them out without the use of a planer, just using the router and the jig I built. So let's take a look at that here in this messy garage. SyrupDishes, average guys doing average things. Thank you. All right, guys, so you will need a bit to surface. I went with this Charcuterie, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, bit. It is a 2-inch wide bit with a 1/2-inch shaft. You can see the carbide tips right there. You can see the specs on it. It worked fabulous. So that's the first thing I went with when I was surfacing. You'll want to find yourself a good flat bit, something that's going to be able to cut and surface to meet your needs. Next up, we need some flat, stable station to be able to build this on. Now, I bought two sawhorses here. You can get more expensive ones. You can get higher ones. These were at Harbor Freight on sale for $9, guys. You can't go wrong with that. I would like something higher. I would like something more up. Use your workbench if you got one. I just don't happen to have a workbench because I don't do woodworking. So this is just kind of it. Now, garages slope out away from the house. And so what I've done next is I've placed these on some studs. These are just 2x3 studs. And what I went ahead and did was I just put shims between the studs and my surfacing platform. And that helped level it out. Now, I could screw this down and attach it down, but I did not. I opted here just to let it sit on there, and it's been working great. You can see I have some particle board. You can use any type of wood you want. This is about 5/8 thick. The thicker you have, the more stable it's going to be. And that sets up your foundation. Just make sure it's level, left to right, and front to back.
Sorry about that. We messed up our video, flipped the wrong way. But what I'm showing you here are at each end we have 2 levels. They're cheaper levels. They're held on at the ends by 4 screw clamps. You can see they are level from left to right, and then across you could run another level to make sure. But these are nice and smooth rails for your box to slide on. They can be taken down easily with these screw clamps, so you can use this as a table surface or just storage. I should probably put 2 screw clamps in the middle to make it more sturdy. However, that does impact how you use your box jig there with your router. So I really recommend this feature rather than screwing in or creating boards on your rails. It just was simple and easy.
Next up is going to be the jig itself. And so I just took my leftover particle board pieces and I measured it out. Now, a mistake I made here is I am not tight up against this side of the router. And I would like that tight on both sides. However, it fit my needs right here. I measured it out, made sure that it fit my rails there. I went ahead and tightened it down a bit with just an extra board for stability, durability there so that it doesn't pop off of there. We did that on both sides. You can use a scroll saw, jigsaw, whatever you want to dig out that channel. I just used my router. I took my bit, it's a plunge router, and I just pushed down right on it. Another mistake I made here when I made this was these end ones are lower to accommodate the handles on my router. Again, guys, I don't woodwork, I don't use these a lot, so I bought inexpensive tools. You might have something better, that's fine. These rails on the ends are too high for those handles if I have to plunge down very far. So likely I'll be taking those to the bandsaw and just ripping those off. But this slides right along your rails. And then you're able to use your jig. Now, you're not using your jig moving that way, you're using your jig moving this way with the router. And so you do want to make sure your grain of your board runs parallel to that router, but then you can just kick it over a little bit, and then you can just run it back and forth again. And I'll show you that here in a bit with the video. So an addition you might have to make, depending on how thick your wood is and how deep your plunge grinder goes, is you might have to build a surfacing platform. So what I've done is I've just used a leftover sheet of particle board. I went ahead and attached that on there. Now I've been doing the epoxy cutting boards, and so this was enough to get those boards up. And you can see these braces right here are screwed down in there. That holds that in nice and tight. And then on this end, you can even see some screw holes there. I would put another support just to block that in as I'm using that jig. And you can go higher or lower as you need on this. All right, so there you have it. That's how I built a really inexpensive jig. Now you can make fun, you could poke fun, you could tell me there's something better, you could tell me you could even do it better. But listen, that's not my goal. I'm an average guy who doesn't do a lot of woodworking, and I'm just showing you guys things to do quick and easy, things that you can do just like me when you don't spend a lot of time. I now have a workbench that I can tear down, put back together, whatever I need to do, and it has multiple uses. I can surface wood, I can sand on it. I can use it as a workbench, a tool bench, whatever I need to do, because it was super easy to put together. And that's what I kind of wanted to show off for you guys. I cut handles into cutting boards with this. I cut juice trays into this in those cutting boards. I routed the edges. I sanded on it. I surfaced them. You know, this thing was just something I threw together in an hour, hour and a half maybe. And that included going and getting any parts I needed for it. So, hey, SyrupDishes, average guys, average things. What can I say? You got better ways to do it? Tell me about it. I'd be glad to watch and learn from you. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you check out our videos on those epoxy cutting boards. We sure had a lot of fun making those.